The moment Tyler grabbed my graduation cake, I knew something was about to go horribly wrong. My 12-year-old nephew lifted that custom-ordered cake with both hands, the one with my name and MBA graduate written in beautiful gold frosting, and hurled it straight onto the restaurant floor. Frosting exploded across the tiles. He looked right at me and said, "Loud enough for everyone to hear. Eat it off the ground, Auntie. That's where you belong." The entire table erupted in laughter. My brother Nathan, his wife Candace, my mother Patricia, my 2 aunts, my uncle, they all laughed. I sat there, frozen, staring at my accomplishments smeared across dirty restaurant tiles. I didn't say a word. I just grabbed my purse and left. That evening, Mom texted me. I sat alone in my apartment at 9:30 that night, staring at my phone screen. The text from Mom was still there, glowing in the darkness. "We've chosen to sever all contact. Stay away forever." Below it, I could see that Nathan had liked the message within seconds. My hands were shaking. 6 years. 6 years I had been their safety net, their backup plan, their emergency fund. And this was how it ended. Let me tell you what those 6 years looked like. When Nathan's landscaping business was struggling and his credit was completely destroyed from maxed-out cards and missed payments, who co-signed his business loan? Me. $75,000. I put my name on the line because he was my brother, because Mom said, "Family helps family." When Dad died and Mom couldn't keep up with the mortgage payments on her own, who co-signed her refinance? Me. $180,000. I worked overtime for months to make sure I could cover it if she faltered. When Nathan decided he needed a brand new truck for his business, claiming the old one was hurting his professional image, who co-signed that loan? Me again. $42,000. All while I was working full-time during the day and attending MBA classes at night. All while I was living in a tiny apartment, driving a 10-year-old sedan, eating ramen more nights than I care to admit. All while Nathan got to live in his nice house with his nice truck and his business that never quite seemed to turn the profit he always promised it would. All while Mom got to keep her 4-bedroom house that she absolutely did not need now that she lived alone. I was the responsible one. I was always the responsible one. Nathan was the golden child, the son, the one who could do no wrong even when he was doing everything wrong. I was the backup plan, the insurance policy. The person who sacrificed so everyone else could have what they wanted. And tonight, at my graduation dinner, the celebration of 6 years of night classes and weekend studying and exhaustion and sacrifice, Tyler threw my cake on the floor and told me to eat it off the ground. And they laughed. Every single one of them laughed. I looked at Mom's text again. "Stay away forever." Something inside me snapped. Not in a loud, explosive way. In a quiet, final way. Like a door closing and locking for the last time. My fingers moved across the screen. I typed into the family group chat. "Removing my name from every loan tomorrow. You're on your own." I hit send at 9:47. Then I set my phone on the coffee table and went to brush my teeth. By the time I came back 10 minutes later, my phone was vibrating so hard it had moved 3 inches across the table. 88 missed calls. The number kept climbing. Voicemails were flooding in. The group chat had exploded into a wall of messages I couldn't even read fast enough. I played the first voicemail. Mom's voice came through, high-pitched and frantic. "Giselle, you call me back right now. You cannot do this. I will lose my house. Do you understand what you're doing to me? Call me back immediately." The next one was Nathan. His voice was different, cold, threatening. "You really want to do this, little sister? You really want to go there? Because I promise you, I will make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of person you really are. Call me back. Now." The group chat was a nightmare. "Aunt Barbara, I cannot believe how selfish you're being. After everything your mother has done for you, Uncle Frank, ungrateful doesn't even begin to cover it. Your father would be ashamed. Aunt Linda, we all saw how you acted at dinner tonight, storming out like a child. Grow up, Giselle." Cousin after cousin piling on, all of them suddenly experts on my character, my gratitude, my obligations. Then Nathan sent a private message. "You do this, and I'll make sure you regret it. I have ways of making your life very difficult. Think about your fancy new job. Think about your reputation. Back off. Mom's final text came through at 11:20. You're killing me. My blood pressure is through the roof. If I have a stroke tonight, it's on you. I hope you can live with that. I sat there reading message after message, listening to voicemail after voicemail. Not one person asked me how I was feeling. Not one person acknowledged what had happened at that dinner. Not one person apologized for laughing while Tyler humiliated me on what should have been one of the proudest days of my life. They only cared now because their money was at risk. I realized something sitting there at 11:30 at night with my phone buzzing nonstop in my hand. They had never cared about my graduation. They had never cared about my achievement. They had never cared about the 6 years I spent exhausting myself to earn that degree. They cared about my signature on their loans. They cared about my good credit score. They cared about my financial usefulness. That was all I had ever been to them. A bank. A resource to be used. I blocked every single number. Mom, Nathan, Candace, all the aunts and uncles and cousins who had so much to say about my character. I blocked them all. Then I set 3 alarms for the morning and went to bed. I had a 9 o'clock appointment at the bank, and nothing was going to stop me from being there. I walked into First National Bank at 8:55 the next morning. Mr. Harrison, the loan officer I had worked with for all 3 co-signing situations, greeted me with his usual professional smile. Giselle, good morning. You said you wanted to discuss your co-signer status? I nodded and sat down in the chair across from his desk. I need to remove myself as co-signer from all 3 loans. My brother's business loan, my brother's truck loan, and my mother's mortgage refinance. Mr. Harrison's smile faded slightly. He turned to his computer and started typing. Let me pull up your file. He clicked through several screens, and I watched his expression change. The professional pleasantness disappeared. His eyebrows drew together. He leaned closer to the monitor, then sat back slowly. He looked at me with something between concern and alarm. Giselle, are you aware of the recent activities on these accounts? My stomach dropped. What activities? He turned the monitor slightly so I could see. Your brother Nathan has missed the last 4 consecutive payments on the business loan. That's over $6,000 in missed payments. The account is in serious delinquency. He clicked to another screen. Your mother has missed 2 mortgage payments. That's over $5,000. Her account is also in delinquency. I felt my face go cold. I didn't know about any of this. Mr. Harrison looked at me carefully. We've been trying to reach you. We sent letters to the address on file. We called the phone number listed. I shook my head. I never got any letters or calls. He pulled up my contact information. My address was listed as Nathan's business address. My phone number was a number I didn't recognize. That's not my information. I didn't change any of that. He made a note on his screen. Someone with account access changed your contact information approximately 4 months ago. 4 months ago. Right around the time I was finishing my final semester. Right around the time I was too busy and stressed to notice anything unusual. Nathan had deliberately cut me off from knowing what was happening with these loans. There's something else, Mr. Harrison said quietly. He pulled up another screen. Are you aware that you're listed as co-signer on a 4th loan? My heart stopped. What 4th loan? He turned the screen toward me again. A business loan taken out 3 months ago. $95,000. Your brother Nathan is the primary borrower. You're listed as co-signer. I stood up without meaning to. I never signed anything for a 4th loan. I've never even heard of a 4th loan. Mr. Harrison pulled up a document. There was a signature on the co-signer line. It looked similar to my signature, but it wasn't mine. The letters were slightly different. The flow was wrong. That's not my signature, I said. Someone forged that. Mr. Harrison studied it carefully. The bank accepted this as valid. If you're claiming forgery, we'll need to investigate, but that's a serious accusation that will require a police report and a formal investigation process. He pulled up another screen. Giselle, Your credit score has dropped 120 points in the last 3 months due to these missed payments and this new loan. You're currently at 510. The room tilted slightly. My credit score had been 730. I had spent years building perfect credit, paying every bill early, keeping my credit utilization low, never missing a payment. Nathan had destroyed it in 3 months. How much am I legally liable for right now? I asked. Mr. Harrison did the calculation. With all 4 loans combined, you're currently liable for $392,000. $392,000. I made $68,000 a year at my new job. I had $47,000 in student loans of my own from the MBA program. My savings account had $12,000. There was no possible way I could cover even a fraction of what Nathan and Mom had done. What happens if I remove myself as co-signer right now? I asked. Mr. Harrison's face told me the answer before he spoke. If you remove yourself from these loans while they're in delinquency, the bank will demand immediate payment in full from the remaining borrowers. Given their financial situations and credit histories, they won't be able to secure that kind of money. Your mother's house will go into foreclosure within 60 days. Your brother's business will go into collections immediately, and his truck will be repossessed. I sat back down. And if I report the forged signature on the 4th loan? He took a breath. You'll have to file a police report. There will be an investigation. If it's proven to be fraud, your brother will face criminal charges. You'll likely have to testify against him. The bank will pursue him for damages. But, he paused, your mother's house will still go into foreclosure because she can't afford the mortgage on her own. You removing yourself or reporting fraud doesn't change her financial reality. I was trapped. Completely and perfectly trapped. If I stayed on the loans, I faced financial ruin. My credit was already destroyed. Collections agencies would come after me for the missed payments. My new job at a financial consulting firm would find out. I could lose my career before it even started. But if I removed myself or reported the fraud, Mom would lose her house. Nathan's business would collapse. The entire family would lose everything, and they would all blame me. There's one more thing you should know, Mr. Harrison said quietly. On the 4th loan, the forged application, your brother listed your salary as his income. He claimed to make $120,000 a year. That's significantly higher than his actual business revenue. That's federal fraud, Giselle. Loan fraud, bank fraud. That carries serious penalties. I left the bank at 10:30 in a complete daze. I sat in my car in the parking lot for 20 minutes, trying to process what I had just learned. Nathan hadn't just been irresponsible. He had been actively fraudulent. He had forged my signature. He had committed federal crimes using my identity. And now I had 72 hours before the bank would file default notices that would trigger a cascade of consequences I couldn't control. My phone was still blocked to all of them, but I knew they were trying to reach me. They knew I had gone to the bank. They knew what I had found out, and they were panicking. But their panic was nothing compared to the cold, sick fear settling into my chest. This was so much worse than I had imagined. Monday morning. I had spent the entire weekend in a fog, trying to figure out what to do. I hadn't slept more than 3 hours a night. I had researched loan laws and fraud statutes until my eyes burned. And now I was walking into my new office, trying to pretend everything was fine. I had only been working at Caldwell Financial Consulting for 2 weeks. This was my dream job, the reason I had spent 6 years getting my MBA. I couldn't let Nathan's mess destroy this. I sat down at my desk at 8:15. At 8:43, my supervisor Janet knocked on my doorframe. Giselle, can I see you in my office for a moment? Her tone was professional but serious. My stomach tightened. I followed her down the hall. She closed the door behind us, which was never a good sign. I need to ask you about some phone calls we've been receiving. My face went hot. Phone calls? Janet sat down behind her desk. This morning alone, I've received 6 calls before 9 from collections agencies trying to reach you. They've been calling the main office line, asking for you by name, referencing delinquent accounts. She looked at me carefully. Giselle, you work in financial consulting. You know that any significant debt issues are a serious concern for this company. Our clients trust us with their financial information and strategies. We can't have employees who are struggling with major financial liabilities. I felt like the floor was dropping out from under me. It's not what it looks like. These are family loans that I co-signed for. My brother and my mother are the primary borrowers. I'm working to resolve the situation. Janet's expression softened slightly. I understand family situations can be complicated. But HR has a policy. Any employee in your position needs to disclose major financial liabilities. You didn't mention any of this during your hiring process. Because I didn't know there was a problem, I said. I just found out 3 days ago that the payments were being missed. I'm handling it. Janet sighed. I believe you, and I want to help you. But HR is going to need documentation by the end of this week, showing that this situation is being resolved. If you can't provide that, company policy requires termination during the probation period. I'm sorry, Giselle, I really am, but my hands are tied. I walked back to my office feeling like I was moving through water. I needed this job. I needed the income to pay my own bills, my own student loans, my rent that was due in 9 days. If I lost this job, I lost everything. I couldn't provide the documentation HR wanted because there was no resolution yet. I was still trying to figure out how to untangle myself from Nathan's fraud without destroying everything. At lunch, I made the mistake of checking my personal social media. I had 53 new notifications. Nathan had posted something. I clicked on it, knowing I shouldn't but unable to stop myself. Some people turn their backs on family the second they don't need you anymore. I built them up, helped them succeed, and this is the thanks I get. Real character shows when things get hard. The post had over 200 likes and 87 comments. Extended family members were piling on. Aunt Barbara, I'm so sorry you're dealing with this, Nathan. You've always been such a generous brother. Cousin Jennifer. Some people really do forget where they came from. Uncle Frank. Keep your head up. You know your real family supports you. Person after person after person, all of them echoing the same narrative. I was the ungrateful one. I was the selfish one. I was the villain. My own social media was flooded with attacks. People I barely knew, distant relatives I hadn't seen in years, all of them suddenly experts on what I owed my family. My college friends were seeing all of this. People in my professional network were seeing all of this. My carefully built reputation was being shredded in real time by people who had no idea what was actually happening. Tuesday morning, I arrived at work to find an email from HR. Subject line, mandatory meeting. I sat in the HR office at 10 o'clock with Janet, the HR director Paula, and a company lawyer I had never met before. Paula spoke first. Giselle, we've become aware of a serious situation that requires immediate action. The police contacted our office yesterday afternoon. My heart stopped. The police? The lawyer spoke. Your brother Nathan has filed a police report claiming you embezzled $40,000 from his business account. He's alleging that you had access to his business finances and systematically stole money over a 6-month period. The investigating detective contacted us to verify your employment and your financial situation. I couldn't breathe. That's completely false. I've never had access to his business accounts. I've never taken a single dollar from him. This is retaliation because I tried to remove myself from the loans. Paula shook her head slowly. Giselle, I want to believe you, but we have to follow company policy. Until this investigation is resolved, we have to place you on unpaid suspension. You cannot work here while there are active criminal allegations against you. It's a liability issue. Janet looked genuinely upset. I'm sorry, Giselle. I pushed back as hard as I could, but this is above my authority level. The lawyer handed me a document. You'll need to sign this acknowledgement of suspension. You'll be notified once the investigation concludes. If you're cleared, we can discuss reinstatement. If charges are filed, your employment will be terminated. I signed the paper with a hand that didn't feel like mine. I cleaned out my desk while security watched. I walked out of the building at 11:15 on a Tuesday morning with a box of my belongings and no income. My rent was due in 6 days. I had $812 in my checking account. My rent was $1,200. That afternoon, my phone rang from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Is this Giselle Carter?" a man's voice asked. "Yes. This is Detective Rodriguez with the Financial Crimes Unit. I need you to come in for questioning regarding a theft report filed by Nathan Carter. Can you come to the station this afternoon?" I sat in the police station at 4 o'clock, in a small interview room that smelled like old coffee and fear. Detective Rodriguez was in his 40s, tired-looking, professional. He laid out several documents in front of me. "Your brother has filed a report claiming you embezzled money from his business. He's provided evidence that seems to support his claim. I need to hear your side." He showed me bank statements. There was an account I had never seen before. Account holder, Giselle M. Carter, my full name. Regular transfers from Nathan's business account to this account, spanning 4 months, $38,700 in total. The account had been systematically drained through ATM withdrawals across the city. "I've never seen this account before," I said. I didn't open it. Detective Rodriguez showed me another document, the account opening paperwork, dated 4 months ago. A signature that looked like mine, but wasn't. "That's not my signature," I said. He studied it. It's close enough that the bank accepted it. He pulled out printed text message screenshots. Messages between me and Nathan, where I apparently offered to help with his business bookkeeping. Where I asked for his account information. Where I discussed needing money for expenses. I never sent these messages. My head was spinning. Nathan had planned this. He had meticulously built a fake case against me. He had opened a bank account in my name. He had forged documents. He had created text message evidence from a spoofed number. He had built an entire false narrative, and he had done it over months. This wasn't a reaction to me trying to remove myself from the loans. This was something he had been planning for a long time. "Why would your brother do this?" Detective Rodriguez asked. I told him everything. The loans, the missed payments, the forged signature on the 4th loan, the financial trap I was in. He listened carefully, taking notes. When I finished, he sat back. "So you're saying this is retaliation for trying to remove yourself from financial obligations?" I nodded. He needs someone to blame when his business collapses. He's setting me up to take the fall. Detective Rodriguez studied me for a long moment. "Here's the problem, Giselle. On paper, this case looks bad for you. The account is in your name. The transfers are documented. The text messages show you discussing the business. Your brother has a witness statement from his wife saying she saw you accessing his business accounts on his computer. He has a statement from his son saying you talked about needing money all the time. Your mother has provided a statement saying you've always been jealous of your brother's success. Candace had lied. Tyler had been coached to lie. Mom had lied. They had all coordinated their stories. Nathan had built this trap carefully, with multiple supporting witnesses, with documentation, with a timeline that looked plausible. "I need a lawyer," I said quietly. Detective Rodriguez nodded. "Yes, you do." I left the police station at 6:30. I called the public defender's office. The earliest appointment was Thursday morning. I went home to my apartment and sat in the dark. My phone rang from another unknown number. I answered. A man's voice. "I'm calling from Midwest Collections Agency regarding an outstanding debt of $6,300. This is an attempt to collect a debt. Any information obtained will be used for that purpose." The collections calls had started. It was only going to get worse from here. I was facing potential felony charges for embezzlement, identity theft, and fraud. 3 to 7 years in prison if convicted. My MBA, my career, my entire future was dissolving like sugar in water, and I was completely alone, no family. Friends were distancing themselves because they didn't know what to believe. I had $800 and no job and rent due in 6 days, and the walls were closing in from every direction. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, and for the first time in my life, I understood what it meant to feel truly hopeless. Thursday morning, I sat across from a public defender named James Martinez. He looked overworked and underpaid, with a stack of folders on his desk that suggested I was one of many. He reviewed my case file while I sat there, my hands twisted together in my lap. After 10 minutes of reading, he looked up. "This doesn't look good, Giselle. The evidence against you is substantial. Your brother has built a solid case." I walked him through everything again. The co-signed loans, the missed payments, the forged signature, the trap Nathan had set. James listened, but his expression didn't change. "Even if everything you're saying is true, proving it is going to be difficult. You'll need a forensic accountant to track the account activity. You'll need phone records to prove those text messages weren't from your number. You'll need handwriting analysis to prove the signatures are forged. All of that costs money. Do you have resources for that?" I had $800 in my checking account. "No." James sighed. "Then your best option might be to take a plea deal, if one is offered. With no criminal record and circumstances suggesting possible family coercion. You might get probation and restitution instead of prison time." I stared at him. "You want me to plead guilty to crimes I didn't commit?" He leaned back in his chair. "I want you to be realistic about your situation. Going to trial without the resources to properly defend yourself is risky. Prosecutors are offering deals these days to clear cases. It might be your best path forward." I walked out of his office feeling sicker than when I walked in. That afternoon, I couldn't pay my rent. My landlord, Mr. Peterson, was understanding but firm. "I'm sorry about your situation, Giselle, but I have bills too. I'm filing an eviction notice. You have 72 hours to vacate or bring the full amount owed." I had nowhere to go. My friend Bryn offered her couch. I moved my essential belongings into her guest room on Friday, everything I owned fitting into 6 boxes and 3 suitcases. Saturday morning, I walked outside to go to a job interview for a server position at a diner. My car wasn't there. It took me 5 minutes to realize what happened. Repossession. I had missed 2 car payments while dealing with everything else. I called the financing company. They confirmed they had taken the car. To get it back, I needed to pay $3,800 immediately, plus storage fees of $40 per day. I didn't have $3,800. I didn't have $40. I took the bus to the job interview. I didn't get the job. They Googled my name and found Nathan's social media posts about me being ungrateful and selfish. The weekend was a nightmare. My student loan servicer sent default notices. I had missed 2 payments. Default would trigger immediate collection on the full $47,000 balance. My credit score dropped again. I checked it compulsively, watching the number fall. 462. My credit was destroyed. 10 years of perfect payment history. Gone. Everything I had built, demolished in less than 3 weeks. Sunday night, I sat on Bryn's couch and seriously considered just giving up. Just accepting the plea deal, accepting the guilt, accepting the destruction of my life. It would be easier than fighting. Nathan had won. He had systematically destroyed everything I had, and there was nothing I could do about it. He was smarter than me, more ruthless than me. He had planned this for months, maybe years, and I had walked right into every trap. Bryn made me tea and sat next to me. "You can't give up," she said quietly. "I know it looks impossible right now, but there has to be a way." I shook my head. There isn't. He's thought of everything. Every move I make, he's already 10 steps ahead. Bryn was quiet for a moment. "My cousin Marcus works in forensic accounting. He specializes in financial fraud cases." 410. Maybe he could look at this? I had no money to pay a forensic accountant, but Bryn texted him anyway, explaining the situation. Monday morning, Marcus called me. "Bryn told me what's happening. This sounds like a complex fraud case. I'd like to take a look at the evidence, if you're willing. No charge. I hate people who abuse family like this." I could have cried from relief. It was the first small piece of hope I'd had in weeks. But that afternoon, hope got crushed again. I received official notice that Nathan had filed a civil lawsuit against me for $300,000 in damages to his business. The lawsuit claimed my theft had destroyed his company's reputation, caused him to lose clients, and created irreparable financial harm. My public defender called. This is a pressure tactic. He's trying to force you to just accept the loans and let him off the hook. It's legal extortion. Either you take the financial ruin quietly, or he pursues both criminal charges and a massive civil judgment. I couldn't breathe. Criminal charges or financial ruin. Those were my options. There was no door number 3 where I came out whole. The court date for the criminal charges was set for 6 weeks away. 6 weeks to find a way to prove I was innocent. 6 weeks with no job, no money, no resources. 6 weeks while Nathan tightened the noose. That evening, I came home to Bryn's apartment and found an envelope taped to the door. No postage, no return address, just my name written in block letters. I took it inside and opened it with shaking hands. Inside were photographs. Me at the bank, me at the police station, me getting on the bus, me walking into Bryn's apartment building. Someone had been following me, taking pictures, documenting my movements. There were at least 20 photographs spanning the last 2 weeks. Under the photos was a single piece of paper with a typed message. Drop everything or we'll make sure you lose more than just money. Stop fighting, accept what's coming, or things will get much worse. You don't know what we're capable of. No signature, no identification. Just the threat, clear and terrifying. I showed Bryn. Her face went pale. You need to report this to the police. This is harassment. Intimidation. But who would I report it to? Detective Rodriguez already thought I was guilty of embezzlement. Would he take this seriously, or would he think I was creating a distraction? And who sent it? Nathan? Someone he hired? I didn't know, and that made it even more frightening. That night, I barely slept. Every sound made me jump. Every car door, every footstep in the hallway, every creak of the building settling. Someone had been watching me. Someone knew where I lived now. Someone was threatening me. This wasn't just about money anymore. This wasn't just about loans and fraud. This was about something darker. Nathan wasn't just trying to ruin me financially. He was trying to destroy me completely, and I didn't understand why. What had I done to deserve this level of hatred from my own brother? 1 week later, everything had fallen apart completely. I had 72 hours to vacate Bryn's apartment before her landlord found out she had an unauthorized long-term guest. I had nowhere else to go. I had sent out 63 job applications. I had received 4 responses. All rejections. The moment potential employers Googled my name, they found Nathan's social media campaign and the public record of the criminal charges and the civil lawsuit. No one would hire me. My student loans had officially defaulted. The full balance of $47,000 was now due immediately. Collections agencies called 12 times a day. I had stopped answering my phone entirely. The default was on my credit report now. My score was 421. I couldn't rent an apartment. I couldn't finance a car. I couldn't get a credit card. I couldn't even open a regular checking account at some banks. I was functionally locked out of normal financial life. I was staying on Bryn's couch, trying to be invisible, trying not to be a burden. She was kind and patient, but I could see the strain. Having me there was stressing her out. Her boyfriend had started asking questions. Her landlord had seen me coming and going. I was putting her housing at risk too. Everything I touched turned toxic. The criminal court date was in 4 weeks. My public defender had called twice, pushing me to accept a plea deal. The prosecutor was offering 2 years probation, 500 hours of community service, and full restitution of the $38,000. No prison time, but a criminal record. A felony conviction. The end of any career in finance or consulting. The end of any professional future. James, my public defender, kept telling me it was the best I could hope for. The evidence is too strong, Giselle. You're not going to win at trial. I was seriously considering taking the plea. Just ending it. Just accepting guilt for something I didn't do, because fighting was too expensive. Too exhausting. Too impossible. I was 28 years old, and my life was over. Everything I had worked for, everything I had sacrificed for, it was all gone. Nathan had won. He had destroyed me completely, and there was nothing I could do about it. The family's social media campaign hadn't stopped. Nathan posted regular updates about his struggling business, his financial hardship, his betrayal by his sister. Mom posted about the pain of having a child turn on you. Aunt Barbara shared articles about family dysfunction and betrayal. The narrative was set in stone now. I was the villain. They were the victims. And everyone believed them. Someone had created a fake social media account using my name and an old photo of me. The fake account was posting horrible things. Racist comments. Political extremism. Personal attacks on people I had gone to school with. I reported it to the platform, but nothing happened. The account stayed up. My real friends were blocking me, thinking I had lost my mind. My professional network was seeing these posts and distancing themselves. My LinkedIn connections were dropping by 5 or 10 every day. I was barely eating. Bryn bought groceries, and I tried to eat enough not to worry her, but food tasted like dust. I was barely sleeping. I'd lie on her couch at night, staring at the ceiling, my mind running through everything over and over. What could I have done differently? How did I miss the signs? How did Nathan plan all of this without me noticing? Why did he hate me this much? Marcus, Bryn's cousin, had been reviewing the evidence. He found things that didn't add up. The timing of the account opening, the locations of the ATM withdrawals, the pattern of the text messages. He thought there was a case to be made, but he needed more time, more access to records, more cooperation from the bank. And we had less than a month before the trial. It wasn't enough time. Wednesday afternoon, I was sitting at Bryn's kitchen table staring at nothing when my phone rang. Unknown number. I had stopped answering, but something made me pick up this time. A woman's voice, crying, shaking. Giselle, it's Candace. I froze. Nathan's wife, one of the people who had testified against me. What do you want? I asked coldly. She was sobbing so hard she could barely speak. I can't do this anymore. I can't let him destroy you. I can't be part of this anymore. I need to tell you the truth. I walked outside onto Bryn's balcony, my heart pounding. What truth? Candace took a shuddering breath. Nathan is lying about everything. All of it. Every single thing. He forged your signature. He opened that bank account. He created the fake text messages. He planned all of this. He made me lie to the police. He made Tyler lie. He forced me to be part of it. My legs felt weak. Why are you telling me this now? She cried harder. Because I found something. Something that made me realize how far he's willing to go. Giselle, he's planning to divorce me. He's planning to take the kids. And I found documents that made me understand what this is really about. She took another shaking breath. He took out a life insurance policy on you. 3 years ago. $2 million. He's the beneficiary. The world stopped. What? Candace's voice dropped to a whisper. He's been making the payments for 3 years. $2 million. He talks about you having an accident. He talks about problems solving themselves. Those photos you got? That was him trying to scare you. He wanted you scared and isolated and desperate. Giselle, I think he's planning something worse than fraud. I think he's planning to hurt you, to kill you. I couldn't process what I was hearing. My brother, the person I had protected and supported and sacrificed for, had taken out a life insurance policy on me, was planning my death, had been planning it for 3 years. This was never about money. This was never about loans. This was about $2 million in insurance money that he would collect when I died. I have proof, Candace said quietly. I've been documenting everything for months. Emails between Nathan and his friend discussing the plan. Screenshots showing Nathan researching identity fraud. Photos of him practicing your signature. Bank statements showing he opened the fake account. Recordings on my phone of him admitting to the forgery when he thought I wasn't listening. Text messages between Nathan and your mom coordinating their stories. Evidence that Tyler was coached to lie to the police. Documents showing Nathan's business was already failing before you were framed, and the life insurance policy documents with Nathan's handwriting on them. I couldn't speak. I could barely breathe. Candace continued, her voice breaking. He's been abusing me for years. Emotionally, financially, he's controlled everything. I went along with the cake incident because I was terrified of what he'd do if I didn't. I lied to the police because he threatened to take the kids and make sure I never saw them again. But I can't let him kill you. I can't live with that. I need help to get out, and you need this evidence to save your life. Why should I believe you? I asked. You lied about me. You helped him destroy me. Candace's voice was small. Because I'm willing to testify. I'm willing to give you everything. I'm willing to face whatever consequences come from admitting I lied to the police. I know I deserve to be punished for what I did to you. But please, you need to move fast. I think he's planning something soon. He's desperate. The loans are all in default. His business is collapsing. The insurance money is his way out. And you're running out of time. I stood on that balcony, phone pressed to my ear, and realized I had a choice. I could keep drowning, keep accepting defeat, keep letting Nathan win, or I could fight back with weapons I didn't know I had. Candace was offering me the evidence I needed. The proof of Nathan's fraud, his forgery, his criminal conspiracy. The proof that could save my life and my future. I need to see the evidence, I said finally. All of it, Candace's voice firmed slightly. I'll meet you anywhere, anytime. I have it all on a thumb drive, but we have to be careful. If Nathan finds out I'm talking to you, I don't know what he'll do. We arranged to meet the next morning at a coffee shop across town, far from anywhere Nathan might see us. After I hung up, I stood on that balcony for a long time, watching the city lights, feeling something I hadn't felt in weeks. Not quite hope, but something close. Maybe a chance. Maybe a way to fight back. Maybe a way to survive. Thursday morning at 7:30, I walked into a coffee shop called Morning Grounds in a neighborhood I had never been to before. Candace was already there, sitting in a back corner booth, wearing sunglasses even though we were indoors. Her hands shook as she wrapped them around a paper cup. I sat down across from her. She pushed a small thumb drive across the table. Everything is on here. I picked it up. This tiny piece of plastic held the proof of Nathan's crimes, the evidence that could save me. Walk me through it, I said. Candace took off her sunglasses. And I saw the dark circles under her eyes, the exhaustion, the fear. I started documenting 6 months ago. That's when I realized how bad Nathan's business really was. He was hiding the financial situation from me, but I saw the bills. I saw the creditors calling. I knew he was desperate. She pulled out her phone and showed me. These are emails between Nathan and his friend Kevin from high school. They're discussing the plan. How to set you up, how to make it look real, how to time everything. I read the emails. They were detailed, calculating, and absolutely incriminating. Nathan laying out step by step how he would forge documents, open accounts in my name, create false evidence. Kevin offering suggestions, acting as a sounding board. All of it dated from 4 months before the fake account was opened. These screenshots show Nathan's internet searches, Candace continued, swiping through images. How to forge a signature. How to open a bank account in someone else's name. How to create fake text messages. Identity theft techniques. All from his home computer. I took these screenshots while he was at work. The evidence was methodical, damning. Nathan had researched every aspect of the fraud before executing it. I have photos of him practicing your signature, Candace said. He had samples of your real signature from the loan documents. I watched him practice for hours, trying to match it perfectly. I took pictures on my phone when he wasn't looking. She showed me the images. Nathan sitting at his desk, sheets of paper covered in practice signatures. My name written dozens of times in his handwriting, slowly morphing to look more like mine. The recordings are the most important, she said quietly. She played one. Nathan's voice, clear and unmistakable. I opened the account last week. Used her name, her social security number, everything. The bank didn't even question it. I made the signature close enough. Once I start transferring money and withdrawing it, the trail will be perfect. She'll look guilty as hell. Another voice, Kevin. What if she proves it wasn't her? Nathan laughing. How? She can't afford a lawyer. She can't afford a forensic accountant. By the time she figures out what's happening, it'll be too late. I listened to recording after recording. Nathan discussing how he changed my contact information at the bank. Nathan explaining how he coached Tyler to say I talked about money all the time. Nathan talking to Mom, coordinating their stories. Tell them she's always been jealous of me. Tell them she's been resentful since we were kids. Make it emotional. Make it believable. Mom agreeing, asking what she should say to make me look worse. These text messages are between Nathan and your mom, Candace said, showing me screenshots from Nathan's phone. Mom, are you sure this is going to work? Nathan, positive. She's too proud to ask for help. She'll try to fight it alone, and she'll lose. We just have to stick to the story. Mom, what about Candace? Will she keep quiet? Nathan, she'll do what I tell her. She always does. Candace pulled up bank statements on her phone. This shows Nathan's business account. Look at the dates. His business started failing 8 months ago. He was already missing payments to vendors. He was already behind on rent for his office space. He knew it was collapsing long before he set you up. Framing you wasn't about you trying to remove yourself from the loans. It was about having someone to blame when everything fell apart. Then she showed me the most damning piece of evidence. The life insurance policy, $2 million, taken out 3 years ago when I was 25 years old, Nathan as the beneficiary. Monthly payments automatically withdrawn from his account. Why did he take this out 3 years ago? I asked. Candace's face was grim. Because that's when his business started struggling. That's when he realized he wasn't going to be successful. He needed a backup plan. A way out. And you were it. She showed me more notes from Nathan's computer. Research on accidents, how to stage a car accident, how to make a fall downstairs look accidental, dosages of medications that could cause heart attacks. I felt sick reading them. My brother had been researching ways to kill me. My brother, who I had helped and supported and sacrificed for, had been planning my death for 3 years. He talks about it with Kevin, Candace said, playing another recording. Nathan's voice. If something happens to her, the insurance money solves everything. Business debts, personal debts, all of it. $2 million, tax-free. Kevin. But how would that even happen? Nathan, coldly. Accidents happen all the time. People fall downstairs. Cars crash. Overdoses. She's been so stressed lately. Who would question it? I sat back, processing everything. This wasn't just fraud. This was conspiracy to commit murder. This was my brother actively planning to kill me for insurance money. And he had been planning it for years, waiting for the right moment, setting up the perfect situation where I was isolated, desperate, and vulnerable. Why are you giving me this? I asked Candace. You're implicating yourself. You lied to the police. You could face charges too. She wiped tears from her face. Because I can't let him kill you. Because I'm done being controlled by him. Because I want my kids to grow up knowing their mother did the right thing eventually, even if it took me too long to get there. I know I'm guilty too. I know I hurt you. I'm willing to face the consequences. I just want out, and I want my kids safe, and I want you to live. I looked at the thumb drive in my hand. This changed everything. This wasn't just evidence of fraud. This was evidence of conspiracy, of attempted murder, of a criminal operation that had been running for years. I need help with this, I said. I need professionals who know how to handle evidence like this. Candace nodded. I know. That's why we need to move fast. Nathan doesn't know I copied everything yet, but he will, eventually. Once he realizes, I don't know what he'll do. I called Marcus, Bryn's cousin. I explained I had evidence, substantial evidence, and I needed him to look at it immediately. He met us at the coffee shop within the hour. I handed him the thumb drive. He pulled out his laptop and started going through the files. His expression changed as he read, darkened as he listened to the recordings. After 30 minutes, he looked up. This is prosecutable. Federal fraud, identity theft, forgery, conspiracy, attempted murder. This is a massive case. Giselle, this doesn't just clear you. This puts your brother in federal prison for a very long time. He offered to work on the case pro bono. He hated financial abusers, he said. He had seen what they did to families. He was willing to help build the case, analyze the evidence, prepare everything for the authorities. But I needed more than a forensic accountant. I needed a lawyer who specialized in this kind of fraud. Marcus made a call to a colleague. By that afternoon, I was sitting in the office of Diana Fletcher, a lawyer who had spent 15 years prosecuting financial crimes before going into private practice defending victims of fraud. Diana reviewed the evidence Marcus had compiled. She listened to the recordings, she read the emails, she studied the photos and the bank statements and the life insurance policy. When she finished, she looked at me with an expression that was part anger, part determination. We can destroy him, completely, but you need to be ready for war. Your brother is going to fight back hard. Your family is going to turn on you even more than they already have. This is going to get ugly before it gets better. I thought about the last 6 weeks, about the cake on the restaurant floor, about the text telling me to stay away forever, about the 88 missed calls, about the forged signatures and the fake accounts and the coached lies, about the life insurance policy and the research on accidents and the 3 years Nathan had spent planning my death. Let's do it, I said. Let's burn it all down. Diana smiled grimly. Then let's get to work. Over the next 48 hours, we built a case that was airtight. Marcus traced the fake account to Nathan's IP address at his home. The account was opened from his computer, on a day when he was home alone, at a time when I was at work 30 miles away. My employer's security footage proved I was nowhere near the bank that opened the account. The withdrawals from the fake account all happened at ATMs near Nathan's business during business hours. Again, I had alibis for every single transaction. I was at work, at school, with friends who could verify my location. The forged signatures were analyzed by a handwriting expert Diana knew. The expert's report was clear. The signatures on the fourth loan and the fake bank account were not mine. They were close enough to fool a casual observer, but detailed analysis showed different pressure patterns, different letter formations, different hand movement. They were forgeries, and skilled ones, but forgeries nonetheless. The phone records confirmed the fake text messages came from a burner phone Nathan had purchased at an electronics store. Security footage from the store showed him buying the phone with cash. Diana suggested we set a trap. Let Nathan think he was winning. Get him to incriminate himself further. In a controlled environment where everything was recorded. I called Mom. I hadn't spoken to her in over a month. She answered immediately, her voice sharp. What do you want, Giselle? I kept my voice flat, defeated. I can't fight anymore. I'll sign over my assets to cover the loans if you and Nathan drop the charges. I just want this to be over. There was a pause. I could hear her breathing. You're finally seeing sense? She asked. I don't have a choice, I said. I can't afford to keep fighting. I'll do whatever you want. Just make it stop. Mom's voice softened, becoming almost sweet. I'll talk to Nathan. I think we can work something out. Family should stick together after all. I wanted to throw up. After everything, after destroying me completely, she still thought she held the moral high ground. 2 days later, I got a text from Nathan. Meet at Harding & Associates law firm, Tuesday at 10. Bring your financial documents. We'll settle this. He thought Harding & Associates was his lawyer. It was actually Diana's firm. She had used the name of one of her partners to make Nathan feel comfortable. Tuesday morning, I walked into the conference room where Nathan, his lawyer, and Mom were already waiting. Nathan looked smug, confident, relaxed. He thought he had won. He thought I was broken and ready to surrender. Diana walked in and introduced herself as my attorney. Nathan's face flickered with confusion, then irritation. I thought this was settled. I thought she agreed to take responsibility. Diana smiled calmly. This is a mediation session. All parties should have legal representation. Shall we begin? The room was being recorded. Legally, with clear signage on the door and the table. Nathan's lawyer, a man named Paul Sheffield, looked uncomfortable but didn't object. Diana started asking questions, casual at first, about the timeline of events, about the loans, about Nathan's business. Nathan answered confidently, sticking to his story. I had stolen from him. I had betrayed the family. I was finally accepting responsibility. Then Diana's questions got more specific. About the fourth loan. About when it was opened. About the signature. Nathan's answers started getting less smooth. He fumbled slightly. Contradicted himself on a timeline. Tell me about the bank account, Diana said. The one where the stolen money went. Nathan's expression hardened. That's her account. She opened it to hide the money she was taking. Diana nodded. When did you discover this account? Nathan thought. About 2 months ago, when I was going through my business statements and noticed the missing money. Diana pulled out a document. That's interesting, because the account was opened 4 months ago. But you didn't report the theft until 6 weeks ago. Why the delay? Nathan shifted in his seat. I was trying to handle it privately. Family matters. Diana kept pushing. You opened the account to teach her a lesson, didn't you? Nathan's face went red. That's ridiculous. But his voice had an edge to it now. He was getting defensive. Diana played the first recording. Nathan's voice filled the room. I opened the account last week. Used her name, her social security number, everything. The bank didn't even question it. Nathan's lawyer stood up immediately. This meeting is over. Don't say another word, Nathan. We're leaving. But Nathan was staring at the laptop Diana had pulled out. Where did you get that? His voice was shaking now, with anger or fear, I couldn't tell. Diana smiled. Your wife was very helpful. She's been documenting your activities for months. Would you like to hear more? She played another recording. Nathan discussing the forged signatures. Nathan coordinating stories with Mom. Nathan talking about the life insurance policy. Nathan researching accidents. Each recording was another nail in his coffin. Paul Sheffield was trying to pull Nathan toward the door, but Nathan was frozen, staring at me now with pure hatred. You were supposed to just take it, he hissed. You were supposed to just accept the debt and shut up. Why? I asked. Why did you do all this? Nathan's face twisted. Because I'm tired of you being the perfect one. The responsible one. The one who succeeds at everything while I struggle. You always made me look bad. Mom always compared me to you. You were supposed to fail. You were supposed to be the screw-up. But you kept succeeding, and I kept failing, and I got sick of it. So I decided to destroy you, to take everything you built and burn it to the ground, and you almost let me. Mom gasped. She hadn't known the full extent of what Nathan had done. She hadn't known about the life insurance policy, about the research on accidents, about his plan to kill me. Nathan, what are you saying? She whispered. Nathan turned on her. Don't act surprised. You knew I was setting her up. You helped me. You lied to the police for me. You're just as guilty as I am. Paul Sheffield grabbed Nathan's arm. Stop talking. Right now. We are leaving this room immediately, but it was too late. Nathan had admitted, on recording, in front of witnesses, to fraud, forgery, and conspiracy. He had revealed his motive. He had implicated our mother. He had destroyed his own defense completely. Diana stood up. Mr. Sheffield, you should know that I've already filed countercharges with the district attorney's office. Federal charges for fraud, forgery, identity theft, insurance fraud, and conspiracy to commit murder. The evidence has been reviewed by a federal prosecutor. They're issuing warrants today. She handed Sheffield a folder. This is a copy of the evidence we've compiled. Your client is looking at 15 years minimum in federal prison. I suggest you advise him to cooperate fully. Nathan lunged across the table at me. You ruined everything. I had it all planned. You were supposed to die." Security guards who had been waiting outside the room came in immediately and restrained him. His true nature was fully exposed now. Not the charming brother, not the struggling businessman, not the family man. A calculating, violent criminal who had planned my death for 3 years and was enraged that his plan had failed. Mom was crying, trying to explain that she didn't know, that Nathan had lied to her too, that she thought they were just trying to teach me a lesson, but Diana had the text messages between them. Mom had known more than she claimed. She had actively participated in the fraud. She had lied to the police. She had coordinated stories. She was an accessory, and she would face consequences too. Paul Sheffield looked at the evidence, looked at his client being held by security, looked at Diana, and said quietly, "We'll need to discuss a plea agreement." Diana's smile was cold. "You have 24 hours. Otherwise, we're going to trial, and your client is going to spend the next 2 decades in prison. And given what's on these recordings, given the attempted murder conspiracy, the judge is not going to be sympathetic." I walked out of that conference room feeling something I hadn't felt in 2 months. Power. Control. Justice. Nathan's plan had fallen apart. His crimes were exposed. His future was destroyed. And I was finally free. 3 months passed. The kind of 3 months that felt like 3 years, where every day brought new developments, new revelations, new pieces of my life slowly reassembling themselves. Nathan took the plea deal Diana offered. 5 years in federal prison for fraud, forgery, identity theft, and conspiracy to commit insurance fraud. The attempted murder charges were dropped in exchange for his full confession and his agreement to pay complete restitution. All the loans were transferred back solely to his name. The fake accounts were closed and removed from my credit history. The embezzlement charges against me were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they could never be filed again. Mom was charged as an accessory. The evidence of her text messages with Nathan, her coordinated lies to police, her knowing participation in the fraud scheme was undeniable. She received 2 years of probation and 400 hours of community service. She had to pay a fine of $15,000. She lost her house anyway. Without Nathan's help and without me co-signing anything, she couldn't afford the mortgage. She moved into a small apartment across town. I heard from Bryn that she tried to reach out to some of our extended family for help, but they had all disappeared once the legal consequences started landing on everyone who had participated in harassing me. Aunt Barbara, Uncle Frank, and several cousins who had publicly attacked me on social media ended up facing civil consequences. Diana helped me file defamation lawsuits against the family members who had been most aggressive in destroying my reputation online. 3 of them settled out of court for amounts that covered my legal fees and provided some compensation for the damage to my professional reputation. The others received cease and desist orders and had to publicly retract their statements. The fake social media account that had been created in my name was traced back to Kevin, Nathan's friend from the recordings. He was charged with identity theft and online harassment. He also took a plea deal. Candace divorced Nathan while he was awaiting sentencing. The divorce was quick and decisive. She got full custody of the kids, the house, and most of the assets that hadn't been seized to pay restitution. I met with her several times during those 3 months. We weren't exactly friends, but we had developed a complicated bond built on shared trauma and mutual survival. She had entered therapy and was working through years of emotional abuse. She had gotten a job at a medical office doing billing and was building a life independent of Nathan's control. Tyler, my nephew, the 12-year-old who had thrown my graduation cake on the floor, started seeing a counselor too. Candace brought him to meet me one afternoon at a coffee shop. He was quiet, ashamed, barely able to look at me. Finally, he pulled out a letter he had written. "I'm sorry, Aunt Giselle. Dad made me do it." He told me what to say to the police. He practiced it with me. He said, "You were trying to hurt our family. I didn't know the truth. I'm really sorry." I read his letter. It was childish handwriting, misspelled words, but it was sincere. He was just a kid who had been manipulated by his father. He had been weaponized against me without understanding what was really happening. I told him I forgave him. He cried, and Candace cried. And I realized that not everyone in my family was a monster. Some of them were just victims too. Tyler was doing better now, Candace told me. Away from Nathan's influence, with counseling, with honest conversations about what had happened. He was a good kid who had been taught to do bad things. My own recovery was slower but steady. The criminal charges being dismissed allowed me to start rebuilding my credit. The court issued orders removing all the negative marks Nathan had created. My credit score slowly climbed back up. It took months, but it reached 650, then 690, then 720. Not perfect, but functional again. The bank issued a formal apology for not catching the forged signatures earlier, and for allowing Nathan to change my contact information without proper verification. They paid a settlement of $85,000 from Nathan's seized business assets and remaining funds as damages for the credit destruction and emotional distress I had experienced. That money was life-changing. I paid off my student loans completely. I paid off all the bills that had gone to collections. I rented a nice one-bedroom apartment in a safe neighborhood with good lighting and secure locks. I bought a reliable used car. I put the rest in savings and investments. For the first time in my adult life, I had financial security that wasn't built on debt and sacrifice. My job situation resolved itself too. Once the charges were dismissed and the truth came out, Caldwell Financial Consulting reached out. Janet called me personally. Giselle, we made a mistake. We should have supported you better during the investigation. We should have trusted you. We'd like to offer you your position back, with back pay for the time you were suspended, and a promotion to senior consultant with a 20% salary increase. I accepted. I went back to work 6 weeks after the plea deal was finalized. My colleagues welcomed me back with genuine warmth. The company issued an internal memo explaining that I had been the victim of an elaborate fraud scheme and that I was fully exonerated. My professional reputation within the firm was not just restored, but enhanced. I had survived something terrible and come through it. I was seen as resilient, strong, trustworthy. Within 3 months of returning, I was promoted again. They put me in charge of fraud prevention strategies for our clients. My personal experience became professional expertise. I started speaking at industry conferences about financial abuse within families, about the warning signs, about how to protect yourself. People reached out to me after those presentations. Other victims of family financial fraud. People who were trapped in similar situations, who thought they were alone, who needed guidance. I started volunteering with a nonprofit that helped victims of financial abuse. I used my MBA, my professional skills, and my personal experience to help other people escape the traps their families had set for them. It gave me purpose beyond just rebuilding my own life. It gave me a way to turn my pain into something meaningful. My social life rebuilt itself too. Real friends, the ones who had believed in me, or at least given me the benefit of the doubt, came back into my life. Bryn remained my closest friend. She had stood by me when I had nothing, when I was sleeping on her couch, when I was at my absolute lowest. That kind of friendship is rare and precious. I met new people through work, through the nonprofit, through normal life activities. I started dating someone I met at a professional conference. His name was Aaron, he worked in corporate law, and he was kind and patient and had no connection to my past. We took things slowly, but it felt healthy and right, in a way nothing had felt in years. 6 months after Nathan was sentenced, I did something I had been planning for weeks. I organized a proper celebration for my MBA graduation. I rented a private room at a nice restaurant. I invited Bryn, Marcus, Diana, Candace, and her kids. Aaron, my real friends from grad school, colleagues from work, people who had supported me or believed in me or helped me survive. 23 people showed up. They brought cards and small gifts and genuine happiness for my achievement. Someone ordered a custom cake. It was beautiful, with MBA graduate and you did it written in elegant frosting. When they brought it out, everyone cheered. I stood there looking at that cake, surrounded by people who genuinely cared about me, and I thought about the restaurant floor 8 months ago. I thought about Tyler's voice telling me to eat it off the ground. I thought about the laughter from people who were supposed to love me. I thought about how that moment, as terrible as it was, had been the catalyst for everything that came after. That destroyed cake had been the best thing that ever happened to me. It had forced me to see my family clearly for the first time. It had pushed me to stop accepting their treatment, their demands, their abuse. It had freed me from people who had never valued me. It had led me to discover Nathan's crimes before he could execute the final, darkest part of his plan. That cake on the floor had quite literally saved my life. I blew out the candles while everyone sang. I made a wish, not for revenge or justice because I already had that, but for continued peace and healing and growth. We ate cake and talked and laughed, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Maybe ever. Genuine happiness. Not the stressed, exhausted satisfaction of meeting obligations. Not the tense peace of keeping everyone else happy at my own expense. Real, deep, uncomplicated happiness. The next day, Mom tried to reach out. She had been trying periodically since the sentencing, sending letters to my apartment, trying to find me through mutual acquaintances. Her letters always said the same things. She was sorry. She had been manipulated by Nathan too. She didn't understand how bad things were. Family should forgive. Could we start over? I never responded. I had learned the hard way that some people apologize not because they understand what they did wrong, but because they miss having access to you. They miss what you provided, not who you are. One afternoon, she showed up at my workplace. She must have looked up where I worked. She was in the lobby when I came back from lunch. Giselle, please, just talk to me for 5 minutes. I could have walked past her. Security would have removed her if I asked. But I decided to give her those 5 minutes. We stood in the lobby, and she said everything I expected. She was my mother. She had made mistakes. She loved me. Family was important. I owed her a chance. When she finished, I spoke calmly and clearly. I don't owe you anything. I gave you years of my life, my money, my trust, my sacrifice. You chose Nathan over me at every single turn. When he threw my cake on the floor and told me to eat it off the ground, you laughed. When he was destroying my credit and framing me for crimes, you helped him. When he was planning to kill me for insurance money, you were still on his side. You were willing to let me go to prison for crimes I didn't commit rather than admit what Nathan was doing. You're not my mother anymore. You're just someone who failed me in every way a mother can fail a child. Her face crumpled. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know how bad it was. I shook my head. You knew enough. You knew he was lying. You knew I was innocent. You chose to believe him anyway because you've always chosen him. I hope probation teaches you something. I hope you figure out how to be better. But I'm done. Don't come here again. Don't send letters. Don't try to contact me through other people. We're finished. I walked away while she called after me. Security did escort her out after that. I went back to my office, sat at my desk, and felt nothing but relief. That was closure. That was the final door closing on a life I didn't want anymore. Over the following months, I discovered things about myself I hadn't known before. I learned that I was stronger than I thought. I learned that standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. I learned that some people will take everything you give and still demand more, and that walking away from those people is the healthiest thing you can do. I learned that family isn't defined by blood. It's defined by love, respect, support, and mutual care. The people at my graduation celebration, those were my real family. I learned that your worth isn't determined by who accepts you, but by who you choose to accept into your life. I learned that sometimes the people who laugh at your pain don't deserve your loyalty or your time or your forgiveness. I learned that the family you choose is often better, stronger, more genuine than the family you're born into. I learned that you can survive things you thought would destroy you. You can rebuild from nothing. You can turn your worst experiences into your greatest strengths. I learned that when someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. When someone throws your cake on the floor and tells you to eat it off the ground, they're showing you exactly how much they value you. And you don't have to accept that treatment. You can walk away. You can build your own bakery. You can surround yourself with people who would never let your cake hit the floor in the first place. 1 year after that terrible graduation dinner, I was happy. Truly, deeply happy for the first time in my life. I had a career I loved. I had real friends who celebrated my successes instead of tearing me down. I had a partner who respected me. I had financial security I had built myself without sacrificing my well-being. I had peace. I had freedom. I had a future that belonged to me and no one else. Nathan was in prison. Mom was in probation. The extended family had scattered and moved on. And I was thriving. Sometimes people throw your cake on the ground and tell you to eat it, but you don't have to. You can walk away, dust yourself off, and build something better. You can surround yourself with people who celebrate you instead of diminishing you. You can create a life where your achievements are honored, not destroyed. You can choose yourself, choose your dignity, choose your future. That's not just surviving. That's winning. So, I want to ask you something. Have you ever experienced betrayal from someone close to you? How did you find the strength to move forward? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else who's going through something similar right now. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more real-life stories of resilience and triumph. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it. Someone who needs to know that they're not alone and that recovery is possible. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that you're stronger than you think, that you deserve to be celebrated, and that your worth is never defined by people who failed to see it. Take care of yourself, protect your peace, and never forget that you deserve a life where your cake stays safely on the table, surrounded by people who genuinely cheer for your success.